The tube of toothpaste? Really? The tube of toothpaste. Hello, and welcome to the Museum of Dubious Splendors. I'm davidinark, and I have no idea what's going to happen. My understanding is this is based... Okay, things are happening here. It's based on some kind of poem or something? I have no idea. Alright, okay. The following work is an adaptation of a collection of stories written by Gujarati poet Mir Umar Hassan. These stories, entitled In Dubious Splendor, were written in 1962 for the Malwa Chronicle, but they were mangled and edited without the author's permission prior to their publication in serialized form. The collection became momentarily infamous as the subject of the first court case to arbitrate authorial ownership in independent India. Even today, despite countless restorative efforts by scholars, it cannot be said with any certainty that the text that we used for this adaptation was the original as written by Umar Hassan. Wow. Okay. Oh, look, we have... Oh, I can use my mouse to look around. So I'm assuming WASD? Yeah. Oh, look at there, little paper boats. Can I look all the way around? Okay, well, there's nothing really... Wow, how you doing? Oh, this is... Wow. All right. Why did that... I play games that jump scare me all the time. The door opening? Yeah, that jump scared me. Why? That's stupid. I feel like an idiot. Okay, do I click on the door? Stay? Okay, I don't really understand. Do I go to the chair then? No. Okay, my only option... Alright, I guess we'll leave? Okay. Peter Gregory Cantor was a prolific traveler, the founder of the doctrine of the anthropologist and treasurer at the Royal Academy. Cantor was known to all civilized world as an authority on the peoples and customs of Hindustan. But even the all-knowing Cantor was bewildered by the apparatus, an object that he wrote parsimoniously, I don't know that word, in his annals. That's annals. Alright, that means books. There's two N's there, people. And later alluded to with deep regret in the journal that he maintained upon his return to England. The apparatus, as Cantor first described in his Book of Travels, had no apparent purpose. It was a tubular object of indeterminate shape, found in the living spaces. I'm assuming that's supposed to be spaces. In the living spaces of the people of Danta, often small enough to be placed in an almirah. The apparatus seemed so commonplace to the people using it that Cantor could not ask what it was without crippling damage to his credibility as a member of the superior race as he believed himself to be. That it was man-made and not a creation of nature was but evident, and Cantor made specific mention of its artifice. But beyond that record, nothing else was written about its shape or material, its color or form, or its intended purpose or providence. Cantor was so startled by its presence that he did not even name it and only called it the apparatus whenever he made a scant mention of its presence in his annals. Okay, well, I don't have a mouse anymore. I don't know what to do. Oh, I guess I just click. Okay. It seems that his fascination with the object had not gone unnoticed, and in an act of spontaneous diplomacy, the Raja of Shitavan The province that Cantor was touring presented him with one of the mysterious objects, but the gift only served to torment Cantor, who found the apparatus a constant reminder of his bewilderment and his failure as a man of knowledge, for he had never worked up the courage to ask what it was. Cantor kept the apparatus at his house in Wellington and made provisions in his will to have it displayed at this museum after his passing, hoping someone might shed light upon its mysteries. And to this day, a replica of the apparatus can be found on display, waiting for someone to identify what Cantor never could. The tube of toothpaste? Really? The tube of toothpaste. Okay, I know nothing about this particular game or anything, so if it turns out that it's not family friendly, or if it turns out that it's like wiggy or whatever, then we'll edit or whatever I need to do, okay? So we have various doors, and we have 2 arms and toothpaste. Okay, so this door has that symbol, and this door has that symbol. I don't know, let's open the door and see what happens. Wait, no, let's stay. Wait, what? I thought I picked stay. I don't know. In the land between the Karatush Plateau and the mountains of Hindukush, there lived a pasha called Volkud, surrounded by desert on 3 of its sides, by unforgiving cliffs on the other. The kingdom of Ukori, of which Volkud Pasha was the ruler, was an inhospitable place. And yet, in his harsh land, the capital of Ukori, and I know I'm not pronouncing any of this right, was a magnificent town full of gilded minarets and soft shade-laden streets. Such wealth in the desert en route the raiding trails proved an irresistible temptation for many a warlord, but Pasha Volkud managed to keep the invaders at bay. This difficult task was in no small part made possible by the Guild of Desert Scouts that the Pasha had trained and commissioned. Under the tutelage of his chief military officer, a thin, nervous general called Sinai Himru, several runners were hired and trained to run across the desert sands and chart the shifting landscape every day. With their feet clad in coarse cotton and salves applied to their forehead, these runners would maintain a constant and current repository of the ever-changing desert. They would record the positions of the water holes and the dunes of treacherous sand. They would note where the top layers of mud had dried too soon, leaving quagmire below, and where camels could cross. Okay. And so, with their endless running, they preserved for the Pasha and his army countless routes of attack and retreat that were used to repel and harry invaders, and also to launch many a successful plunder of the neighboring kingdoms. While the guides were well used to their desert air and heat, they never could protect their feet, for the hot sand and salt soon eroded everything. The younger scouts could bear their blisters very well, but as they got older, they took to carpentry or tanning, leaving their post with a royal pension. Every one of them retired after a few years, everyone except Ibu, the legendary runner, who had been guiding the Pasha and his armies for centuries without a blister on his feet. While traversing the deserts, Ibu's feet, through some miracle, had turned stiff and hide-like so as to bear the rough sands and the eroding salt, and he continued to sprint across the burning landscape with the abandon of a youth. When Ibu died, in his 673rd year of service, the Pasha decreed that Ibu's feet be preserved in honor of his exceptional service and capability. It is a replica of these feet that are displayed here at the museum. Great. This is insane. Oh my gosh. Okay, so my problem is I don't remember how I got to where I was. Alright, so can I check these out here? What's this do? Okay. Can I jump? No, I can't jump. However, I can look up here. Oh, what does that say? Not really sure what that says. That is hilarious, though. Okay, so I came in through this door. I was hoping to go back to where I was. Wait, what? These are... Oh, this is so weird. See, I can't go back to where I came. I was hoping to go find the toothpaste again. Oh well. Guess we'll go here. Huh. Oh, okay. No words of wisdom or anything. There's water with the boats. So do I kick the boats? No, they just float, right? Okay. So we have water faucets. How's it going? Oh, we have faucets everywhere. Okay. Except there's only 2 here. I can't do anything. All right. So evidently all I can do is kind of walk through this bizarro museum. I probably should have grabbed some paper and mapped this thing out because I have no idea where I'm going or what's happening. Let me guess, more words. Yes, when Daoroji died and his funeral was completed, that was all that was left for his lawyer for Mito. All that was left for his lawyer Mito to distribute the property, as bequeathed in the will. The house was divided between the 3 sons and their families, and the rest of the property similarly dispatched to other relatives. Every tiny object, from the cutlery to embroidered kurta, and even the table fan with the bent blades, were given to some member of the family, distant and close, with a carefully crafted note of personal import that Daoroji had written prior to his passing. Such a meticulous distribution of his earthly acquisitions did not surprise Meta, who, in Daoroji, had found both a conscientious colleague and a lifelong friend. And so it came as some surprise to everyone when he found an apparatus in Daoroji's possession, of which no mention at all was made in the will. Try as he might, Meta could not discern any use for the object. No one in the family had ever seen or heard of this quaint apparatus, and its purpose could not be fathomed, nor its materials identified. Its place of discovery was also surprising, for it was found on Daoroji's deathbed, resting below his head in the moments prior to his death, as if it were a possession of great value. Bewildered by this unexplained object, Meta was only too glad to donate it to the museum where it now resides. Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, look, that door's boarded up. Can't go that way. And this has a weird split in the... Alright, so it was a pillow. You didn't know what a pillow was? Okay, what? Oh, I gotta see this though. What is that? Can I crouch? Uh-oh. Oh, I have a camera. Oh, I took a picture. I didn't know I could take pictures. Oh, okay, that's pretty freaking cool. So, I guess we go this way? I'm making you sick, aren't I? I should probably be paying attention to the words on the walls, because that probably has something to do with what I'm doing. When Ishtar Shuhei rode into Constantinople on the back of a donkey tied to a cart of specimens, the crowds scarcely noticed his passage. There was rebellion in the air, and cries of the bread vendors mixed with blood-curdling shouts of anarchy. But neither the protests nor the Europeans in their buggies, or the tradesmen, or the town criers, or the carpet sellers and coppersmiths and knife grinders who thronged the streets all hours of the day could dissuade Ishtar Shuhi from his task, for he had traveled an immense distance to witness in person the wonder of the punka. That's got to be the longest run-on sentence I have ever seen, as the newly discovered variety of plant had been named by the locals. Ishtar Shuhai, whatever, was the senior-most botanist at the University of Kajari in Damascus, a title he had acquired at an impossibly young age for his penchant for discovering plant species no one else had ever known or written about. And here, at Constantinople, having heard rumors of a tall plant with a bulbous head that grew in shaded places and often inside people's houses, Ishtar-Shuhei could not resist a trip to the magnificent city. He spent the entire summer battling flies that infested the dusty air and collecting samples of specimens to be grown later at the university gardens. Excuse me. He would force his way into people's houses with a few polite phrases, brandishing a farman that he himself had written, as if it were a regal writ, and then proceeded to take careful notes on the appearance and behavior of the punka plant. Of his notes, few have survived, but we know that he took particular interest in the peculiar nature of the foliage, and noticed that the main stem was slender and appeared to never branch. He also found varieties where the stem was nearly absent, with only the broad bulbous foliage adorning the plant. In the sixth week of this enterprise, Ishtar-Shuhei met Benjamin Wheeler, a British military surgeon who professed himself much interested in Ishtar's work and his discovery of the punka plants. For the next 2 weeks, Wheeler accompanied Ishtar on his expeditions, toiling alongside the botanist to collect specimens. But a few days prior to Wheeler's return to England, Ishtar-Shuhei was killed. He had tumbled down a well while searching for a sapling and had drowned. A sudden and an unexpected death that was swallowed and forgotten in the tumult of the times. Wheeler, who was familiar with Ishtar's work by now, took under his charge the specimens of the punka plant and even appropriated the botanist's notes. For he reasoned, what better way to honor his colleague than to continue his research? Wheeler's return to England was celebrated, and the plant quickly became a staple of urban life. Grown and harvested with increasing frequency, it became a ubiquitous fixture in many homes and the source of Wheeler's prosperity. But long after Wheeler's return from Constantinople, people continued to wonder if Ishtar-Shuhei's demise had truly been a natural one. I'm going to guess this is probably not a plant at all, right? A fan. Okay. Oh, hi. All kinds of fans. How you doing? This really is the weirdest freaking game, thing, simulator, whatever. I have no idea. Oh my gosh, this is so weird. So can I go down here? There's nothing there. And interesting, there's a place for a something to hang there, but there's nothing there. Okay. So, do I go here? I don't know. I feel like it doesn't matter what door I pick, that, like, this is just a constant continuation. Like, no matter what door I would have chosen, this is what would have come up. I don't know if that's true or not, but it just feels that way. In the kingdom of Lakdur, in a time well beyond the recollections of even the oldest of camels, there ruled a great pasha of the Perkendungri clan. Oh, am I going to say that more than once? The Pukerdungri clan. I don't know. He was an old and benevolent ruler, stately in his manners, sedate in his composure, and portly in his aspect. Contentment at the prosperity of his vast preserve radiated from his jovial mien. Mine? And he was greatly beloved by his people, for never in all living memory had he demonstrated ill humor toward his denizens or underlings. But one winter morning, the palace awoke to find the Pasha in a terrible rage. He was found pacing the hallway, his arms in vivid gesticulations, dissecting the air around his person, with his features grotesquely animated with anger. Alarmed at this change in their beloved ruler, his viziers anxiously asked what troubled him so. Could it be the knowledge of the rodents who secretly stole 2 of his horses last night that angered him? Or was he perhaps enraged by the crow that had arrived yesterday and was found wandering the halls of the palace without a turban? The Pasha made no reply to these entreaties, for his rage had left him speechless. He stormed around his palace, his wazirs and his khansamas and jagirs and cooks and maids and servants forming a retinue as he tromped to his chambers. Here he pointed a trembling finger at hundreds of small, pointed, glistening worms that seemed to have grown overnight in everything from floorboards to furniture, and he indicated with violent motions of his arms his desire to be rid of these creatures. The royal physicians had by this time brewed his opium tea, and with many a remonstrations, had managed to calm the Pasha, who, with his composure restored, ordered his attendants to set about ridding the palace of this newfound pestilence. The servants approached a worm nervously, and picked at it, pulled at it, kicked it, and hit it, but managed to budge it not a bit. The wazirs poured boiling oil on these strange creatures, but not one wriggled or died. The generals were called from their barracks, and they brought with them spears and shields, scimitars and daggers. They hacked and slashed at the worms, poked and pierced, to no effect, and having failed in all their exertions, they returned to the Pasha with trepidation. The Pasha commiserated with failure of his wazirs and generals, and having heard their tale, he removed his thigh bone and handed it to the youngest captain of his guard, beseeching him to beat at the worms with the bone. The captain received the bone with great reverence, knowing that this yantra was only ever extracted in times of great strife. He then carried the bone to the site of the infestation, and with a silent prayer and a well-aimed blow, smacked one of the worms on the head and sent it scuttling back into the wood whence it had come from. Overjoyed at this miracle cure, he beat 24 of them within the minute, and soon the entire palace was rid of the pestilence. The thigh bone was returned to its rightful place inside the Pasha's leg, and a magnificent sculpture of this implement was commissioned so that people might worship this miraculous object that had saved them from the scourge of the needle-like pestilence. It is this bone in sculptural form that is displayed here at the museum. Okay, I'm guessing the worms were nails and that the sculpture is a hammer. Uh-huh. Got it. I see what you did there. This really is a very, very bizarre museum. This is so weird. Oh, I can walk through the hammer. It's hammer time. Woo, look at there. And what's this say? ABS tools. Nice. All right, well, I guess we'll go this way. Sure, why not? Again, I don't think it really matters which way we go. Should I go or should I stay? Should I stay or should I go? Little has been written of the legendary cobbler Maharaj Thila Thalcott. It is, of course, known to all connoisseurs of the Thal history that Thalcott was the first of 3 cobbler kings who ruled the kingdom of Gotarpada. I don't know why I'm talking like that. What little we know with certainty about this reclusive king and his short but prosperous reign is to be found in the journal of Ibn Hamid, an Egyptian traveler who found welcome at the kingly court for several years. Of all the chapters that Hamid wrote about the reign of Thalcott, none is so remarkable as the story of the strange container and how the cobbler king created it. It is said, Ibn Hamid records, that long before Thalcott was the ruler of Gotarpada, he lived inside the belly of a giant camel and traveled the desert searching for water holes. One day, when Thalcott was riding in his camel, his mount was attacked by desert wolves. These demonic creatures tore the throat of his camel, and Thalcott only survived because he had the presence of mind to turn himself into a tick and hide within the folds of fur of one of the wolves. Here he stayed ensconced until the creatures had eaten their fill of the camel and retired to sleep. snoring with contentment. With the danger now abated, Thalcott changed back into his usual cobbler self, and retrieved as much as he could of the camel's hide from the remains that the wolves had not yet eaten. He then proceeded to sew the hide together to craft a container where he could store a record of his remarkable adventure, a record which he had written on sheets of paper thinner than air while he was hidden in the guise of a tick, and a record, moreover, of immense value, without which Thalcott knew it would be impossible for others to believe what had befallen his camel. He worked feverishly, afraid that the wolves might wake up at any moment and eat him. As the sun arose in the east, he finished his grisly task and left the site of the camel's massacre with his container by his side, and after days of hard travel reached the safety of the city of Isfahan. This container that accompanied the venerable personage on the first of his great adventures is shown here at the museum. Knapsack, or briefcase, or whatever you want to call it. This is such a bizarre freaking museum, game, whatever you want to call it. Oh, that is so crazy. So, I'm just going to go here. I think this is where I just came from, but then again, I don't think I can actually go back. I think this is just a continuing, moving forward. There's no, I can't choose which room. It's just always going. So, okay. Gunj Bojanath was a simple soul, a core merchant. I don't know that word. Coyer merchant by trade, and a devout worshipper of Kaju Bhagwan. He spent his days rattling around in a bullock cart, visiting the far-flung principalities where coconut husk was peeled. His father had obtained a Farman royal decree, giving their family sole rights of purchase of all coir produced in the region, and Bojanath had cherished this document as much as he did the Kaju idol that resided in a corner of this room. So, when the Farman, along with all his wealth, was burnt in the great conflagration that engulfed his town, Bojanath, now destitute, turned to the Kaju idol and prayed for deliverance with fervor. The next morning, having spent the night in prayer, Bojanath was startled to discover a strange apparatus growing on his head. It was a little to the side of his nose, and he could not quite see it, so he did not know what it was or what it looked like. He did not even know what it did or where it came from. But so excited was he to have his prayers answered that he rushed into the court of the Sultan and demanded an immediate audience, hoping to be rewarded for growing such a strange apparatus on his head. Here, begging the Sultan's indulgence, he proceeded to narrate his misfortunes and his night of prayer before unraveling the turban that covered his face up to the neck, and revealing the apparatus that had grown there. The Sultan looked at the strange growth upon the head, and in his avarice he commanded that it be chopped off and brought to him instead. A scimitar appeared with alacrity in the hands of the guard who had escorted Bojanath, and before he could protest, the blade sliced in the air and chopped the apparatus off. Bojanath collapsed in pain and was bundled out of the court, and the Sultan received the stolen apparatus with great interest and promptly stuck it to his own head. Delighted by his new vestment, the Sultan now commissioned that one be made for each of his children, and soon all the royals at court and many a wealthy person in the kingdom were wearing one. The apparatus became synonymous with the Sultan's reign, and great temples were constructed in its celebration, and consecrated within were large replicas of the original artifact which still adorned the Sultan's head. It is one such replica of the original apparatus that is now kept here in this museum for all to see and admire. Oh my. Okay. Well, this is fun. This is definitely the creepiest this game has gotten. Okay. So we have skulls and we have an ear. I guess that was the apparatus. Okay, so these doors have no markings. Ooh, alright, so let's just try this. Sure. Let me guess, more words, more reading. Oh. Oh, this is cool. Look at that. Oh. We are looking at ourselves, looking at stuff. Oh, we are the camera. Oh my gosh, this is cool. Oh, there would be the crow. And pencils. And a monitor. Oh, I have a bad feeling about this. You see, I had a bad feeling about this. I don't know what that means. Does that mean the end? Part 3? Part 2? I don't know. Let's find out what happens next. Oh, that's the end. Oh, that is cool. Okay, this project is supported by the India Foundation for the Arts under the Arts Practice Program with the support from Technicolor India. Sound and music by Salil Bahayani. Additional illustrations by those folks. Stories edited. Oh, that is so cool. Oh, this was neat. I've not played anything like this. I mean, it was sort of a walking simulator, but and again, I guess those stories were from, I guess, presuming Indian culture, translated, and then, well, actually, they were probably just used as they were in order to create this, but then translated for us. Us being those of us that speak in English language. Oh, that is so cool. Thank you. Studio Olamingus project. At Studio Olamingus, we are a 2-person game studio based in India. Write us at studio@olamingus.com. Oh, that is very cool. I love weird art. I love weird design. This was very, very cool. I absolutely enjoyed this. I have no idea what's going to happen next, so I guess the X probably means quit. So let's find out real quick what happens when I click X. Yeah, pretty much we quit. So there we go. That was very, very cool. Oh my gosh, I don't know. Let me know what you thought. Leave your comments down in the comment section below. Problems, suggestions, horror stories, all that stuff. I don't know. I want to know, what'd you think? What'd you think of this? I wish I hadn't escaped the first room so quickly, just because I didn't understand what was happening. But I really like this. I'm one of those. I don't know. I like kind of weird, funky art. The ending was awesome. I love that. You know, that kind of infinite views, as if you were standing with looking in a mirror with a mirror behind you and just going forever. And then of course when you click and it turns off. Oh, so very cool. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.